The following is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated. Somebody that we did not even have on our bingo cards has started the season 4-0. We'll touch on that and more. You're watching Total Football Talk. Welcome to episode 57 of Total Football Talk. That is the gridiron talk that you love and the way you want it. I am one of the co-hosts of this program, Cole Johnson, aka the Mad Scientist, the EP of all EPs, and the EP extraordinaire. I will be momentarily joined by my other co-host, Mr. D. Willie. We will see him soon, and hopefully you all will be entertained by moi. So, of course, coming up, we will review most of week 3. We will get you wet with the appetite for the games for tonight that ends week 3, and we will touch on all games except for the Monday night game in week 4. So let's do opening drive now, shall we?
All right, let's go. We got trips right at 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Great.
All right. We now will start with the Monday night slates. And oh Lord, when I was thinking about that, I thought about that Jaguars Bills game and sorry. Better yet, it was that's right, dumpster pelican worthy. Better yet, I would rather see this gentleman than watch that game ever again. Why can I find that gentleman? Sing! Delete! We'll begin by touching on the Bills destroying, dismantling, and disavowing the Jacksonville Jaguars to the tune of 47-10. The game wasn't even that close. Oh my gosh, Josh Allen went ballistic in ham. 23 of 30, 263 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He also had 6 carries for 44 yards. James Cook, on the ground, he gave you 39 yards on 11 carries and a touchdown. He gave you 4 receptions for 48 yards in the air. The Bills offense, they had 10 different receivers, and the offensive line allowed 0 sacks. That's right, 0 sacks. The Bills defense, they got 5 sacks of Trevor Lawrence, 21 of 38, 178 yards, touchdown to pick. He also had 2 carries for 3 yards. Travis Etienne Jr., he's supposed to be the guy that's supposed to carry the weight of the running attack. 11 carries only, 68 yards. He had 4 receptions in the air, 17 yards. This game was absolutely atrocious. I mean, the Bills had their way with the Jaguars from opening kickoff, and it just was not close. It seriously wasn't that close. Ooh. In fact, the Jaguar season, and we'll touch on it a little later, is brought to you by the letter. All right, the other Monday night game that took place. I really would love to wait until my brother comes on, but I'll touch on it a little bit. Watch the Commanders. They went to Cincy. They took care of business, and the Bengals were beaten by the Commanders 38-33. Joe Burrow for the losing cause for the Bengals, 29-38, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a carry for 4 yards. Zach Moss, he carried the ball 12 times for 58 yards, a touchdown. He had 5 receptions, 39 more yards in the air. Jamar Chase, he had his first good game of the season, 6 receptions, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. On the other side, you had Terry McLaurin, 4 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. The star of the show, Jay McDaniels, 21 of 23, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 12 carries for 39 yards and a rushing touchdown. The decisions he's making with the ball passing, I really am loving. And because of it, the team is really confident that they can go on the field and beat anybody. We'll touch on them a little more, but the Commanders, they in this game go to 2-1. The Bengals dropped to 0-3. Oh, in the game before, the Jaguars dropped to 0-3, and the Bills, they improved to 3-0. We'll of course touch on both the Jaguars and the Bills as well a little later. All right, that was the Monday night games. Now we're going to touch on the Thursday night game, Cowboys Giants. Yeah, that's about describes it. 20-15 was the final score. You had Dak Prescott, 22-27, 221 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He had a couple of carries for a -1 yard. CeeDee Lamb, he was to be the star of the show. 7 receptions, 98 yards, and a 55-yard touchdown. Amani Oruwariye, he had a pick for the Cowboys. Brandon Aubrey, 2 of 3, but he had a 60-yard long for one of the 2 that he made. On the other side of things, Daniel Jones, he was 29 of 40, 281 yards and a pick, 4 carries for 3 yards on the ground. Malik Neighbors, 12 receptions for 115 yards, a carry for -4 yards on the ground. And Greg Joseph, he was the difference maker for the Giants, scoring off 15 points on his leg with a long of 52 yards. The Giants, they fell to 1-3. The Cowboys, they improved to 2-2, and they have a big game coming up. And now to our Sunday games. We'll start in Soldier Field, where the Bears, they met up with the Rams, and the Bears, they made the Rams play ugly, and the Bears beat them down ugly. 24-18 was the final score. Caleb Williams, 17-23, 157 yards and a touchdown. He had 5 more carries for 12 yards on the ground. DeAndre Swift, he actually had a sighting in this game. 16 carries, 93 yards on the ground, 7 receptions, 72 yards in the air. I'm impressed. 165 yards total. I did not know. I had a feeling that he was drafted. I'm not drafted. I had a feeling he signed somewhere, but I did not know where until Sunday. I'm like, DeAndre Swift, I thought he was with the Bears, but I didn't see him do anything yet. But he came out and he did his thing yesterday. Jaquan Brisker, he had a pick for the Bears, and he had that lone pick of Matthew Stafford. 20 of 29, 224 yards, along with that pick. He also had another carry for a negative 1 yard total. You had Kyron Williams, 94 yards on 19 carries. Devonta King is actually trying to run with this kid. I'm glad to see that. He had 4 receptions for 10 yards. Unfortunately, that effort was wasted. Tutu Atwell, who seems to be the man who is picking up the slack for Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp, who are both licking wounds from injury. 4 receptions, 82 yards. Joseph Carty, who was the man of the hour last Sunday, 4 of 5, 52-yard long field goal. Unfortunately, that just wasn't enough. The Rams, who they were buoyed by that victory over the 49ers at home, they unfortunately now dropped to 1-3. All 3 of those losses have come on the road. I understand that. The Bears, they improved to 2-2. All of their victories have come at home. Now, I would have said that this is the game of the week, but not really. The Vikings raced out to a big-time lead, and the Packers feverishly came back, but they fell short, 31-29. Sam Darnold, 20 of 28, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. He also had 7 carries on the ground for 15 yards. Aaron Jones, I'll touch on him a little later. Justin Jefferson, 6 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Jordan Addison, he gave you 3 receptions, 72 yards, and a touchdown of his own. He had another carry for 7 yards and a rushing touchdown. Jordan Love on the other side, 32 of 54, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a Shaquille Griffin, a Kemu Grugier-Hill, and a Byron Murphy Jr. pick. 1 carry for 6 yards as well for returning Jordan Love only 3 weeks after he injured himself in Brazil. And the prognosis was supposed to be he was going 4 to 6. He said, nah, we'll do this in 3. Decent comeback, but he looked uneven. Josh Jacobs, 9 carries, 51 yards on the ground, 4 receptions for 27 yards to the air. Jaden Reed, who is looking like he is becoming in that young crop of Packers wideouts to be the guy, 7 receptions, 139 yards, and a touchdown. Dontavian Wicks, he chipped in for 78 yards on 5 receptions and a touchdown of his own. And Xavier McKinney, he ended up having another pick, who he's seemingly to be the guy who is in the secondary that's causing a lot of wreck and damage for the Packers. Well, they dropped to 2-2. The Vikings, they improved to 4-0. And Aaron Jones was, to me, the star of the show. 22 carries, 93 yards on the ground. 4 receptions, 46 yards to the air. This man wanted to prove a point going back to Lambeau for the first time since he was a Packer. And I would say 136 yards. No, sorry, 139 yards. I say that you made an impact, Mr. Jones. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to the Vikings, who they have now beaten 3 teams that have made the playoffs in 2023 in a row. That have been 49ers, the Texans, and the Packers. And I see you, Dante. We'll get to your Eagles actually after this game. We'll touch on the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis, Indiana. They uneven performance, but it was good enough. They beat the Steelers, who were undefeated when they came into the game, 27-24. Anthony Richardson, he had a hip pointer, went out early. He was 3 of 4 for 71 yards. He carried the ball 3 times for 24 yards before he left the game. Joe Flacco picked up the slack, 16 of 26, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns for him, 2 carries more for 3 yards on the ground. You have Jonathan Taylor on the ground, who gave you 21 carries and 88 yards with a touch, 3 receptions in the air for 20 yards, and the straw which stirred this stirs the drink offensively for the Colts. He did pretty much what he was supposed to do. Michael Pittman, 6 receptions, 113 yards in the air. Josh Downs gave you 8 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown as well. EJ Speed, 12 solo tackles with 2 tackles for losses. And Dale Adebingo, Adeyingbo, sorry. A sack and a half and two quarterback hits. And that second half by Adeyingbo was 1.5 of the 4 sacks that the Colts got of Justin Fields, who was 22 of 34, 312 yards, a touchdown, and a yeah, he coughed up the ball once. He also carried the ball 10 times on the ground, 55 yards. He gave you not one, but 2 rushing touchdowns. George Pickens, 7 receptions, 113 yards, and a lost fumble himself. Well, the Colts, they improved to 2-2. The Steelers, they suffer their first loss of the season. They are 3-1. And I'll make this quick. Shout out to one Dikembe Mutombo, one of the greats, and he has gone far too soon. Again, the Colts, they improved to 2-2. The Steelers, they dropped to 3-1. And now, Dante Hill's team, the Eagles. Everything is good, my brother. Hope everything is fine with you. Oh, Lord. Dante says fire Vic and Nick. And I can understand why. They went to Tampa, buoyed off of a strong performance. I should say defensively, a strong performance against the Saints. And an offensive performance that was uneven in spots, but decent in other times. 33-16 was the final score. Unfortunately, the game wasn't even that close. It was so bad, the Eagles did not gain a yard of offense until the end of the first half. That's how bad of a performance it was for the Eagles and how good of a performance it was for the Bucks. Baker Mayfield, 30 of 47, 347 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 4 carries of 10 yards and a rushing touchdown. Rashad White, 10 carries, 49 yards on the ground, 2 receptions, 35 yards in the air. Mike Evans, 8 receptions, 94 yards and a touchdown. Levante David for the Bucks D gave you 5 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, and a quarterback hit. And David had 2 of the Bucks' 6 sacks of one Jalen Hurts. 18 of 30, 158 yards, a touchdown, a lost fumble with 8 carries to 20 yards and a rushing touchdown. And here is the stat that really pisses me off, and I'm not even an Eagles fan. Saquon Barkley, 84 yards. That's great on only 10 carries. I don't think you heard what I said. 84 yards on only 10 carries. Now he had 2 receptions, 32 yards in the air. 10 carries. This is the guy who is what makes your offense tick, and you only give him 12 touches total, 10 handoffs. That is inexcusable, Mr. Sirianni. And if I were an Eagles fan, I would call for your job because that is ridiculous. You should not have that type of a playmaker touch the ball that few times. I don't care what is the deficit. You actually witnessed a week prior, he was the guy that when you actually decided to go to in the fourth quarter, got your team back in the game and won it, and you decide to make him persona non grata in this game? Nah, man. Nah. Garbage. The Eagles, they fall to 2-2. They will go to a bye now, and I think they'll lick their wounds, and I think you'll have a lot of Eagles fans, along with Dante, very upset and really upset with that. And even though, yes, the Eagles defense allowed 33 points, to me, that offense put the Eagles defense in too many disadvantageous positions, and you can only ask a defense to do but so much. And the Buccaneers, they improved to 3-1, and that NFC South is looking very competitive in the early going. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I know. To be fair, yes, I know the Eagles don't have Devontae Smith. They don't have A.J. Brown. They didn't have Lane Johnson on the line. I understand that too. And yeah, it was no defense, but to me, that offense, the way they ran it, they tired the defense out. And you can't do that you can't do that with a squad like them because you have the running game built to do what it's supposed to do. Now, to Charlotte, shall we? The Panthers, they're coming off of victory in Vegas. They went a step back yet again. 34-24 was the final score. The Bengals, they notched their first victory of the season over the Panthers. Joe Burrow, decent game. I won't say it was great. 22-31, 232 yards, a couple touchdowns. He had a pick, a carry and 10 yards also on the ground. But they may have found their running back. Chase Brown, 15 carries, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 12 yards. And they need to rely on him a little more, I think, for the Bengals to actually do some damage. Zach Moss, he gave you 15 carries, 51 yards on the ground as well, 4 receptions for 27 yards and a receiving touchdown. And the Bengals offense, they gave you 141 rushing yards. They need to duplicate that effort more. Hopefully they will. Jamar Chase, decent effort. 3 receptions, 85 yards, a 63-yard touchdown reception basically was the difference. Von Bell on defense for the Bengals, he gave you a pick of Andy Dalton, 25 of 40, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns along with that Von Bell pick, 3 carries and 9 yards on the ground. Chuba Hubbard, he gave you 100 yards, but they wasted that effort on 18 carries, 4 receptions for 17 yards to the air. The Panthers offense, they gave you 155 rushing yards, but it just simply was not enough. And you could not lay the blame of this game on the execution of the offense. Because Deontay Johnson, he gave you 7 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown himself, along with Xavier Leggett, who gave you 6 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown of himself as well. 2 carries of 10 yards. So the offense came to play. The defense just did not show, except for Xavier Woods, not the wrestler, with the pick. So both teams are 1-3. And, we know the Panthers' fate is going to be sealed because they're horrible. The Bengals, it's unfortunate that they're in the toughest division in the league. They are the worst of probably the best division in the game. But 1-3 just won't cut it in that competitive cutthroat in the AFC North. All right, let's go to Houston, shall we? So the Houston Texans, they licked their wounds off of that 34-7 thumping that they took in the Twin Cities. They're back at home. They faced off against the Jaguars. They had a 17-13 lead going into the third quarter. Their offense could do nothing for most of the second half. The Jaguars got to a 20-17 lead when they decided to have brain fart decisions. So they had the ball within the Texans 5, up 3, and they got the 4th down. They stopped Trevor Lawrence from getting a touchdown at the Texans 1, and instead of kicking the field goal to make it 23-17, they decided to go for it, and they got stoned. So the goal line stand for the Texans, that's so they buoyed them to a 24-20 victory over the Jaguars. C.J. Stroud, 27-40, 345 yards and 2 touchdowns, recovered from a C.J. Stroud-like performance. It was a bad performance last Sunday. Decent in this one. 3 carries for 17 yards on the ground for him as well. Nico Collins, a bounce-back game for him as well. 12 receptions, 151 yards, and a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence on the other end, 18-33, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries and 5 yards on the ground. Tank Bigsby, 7 carries, 90 yards. He got busy for, I think it was like a 60-yard run that accounted for those 90 yards. And in the air, Brian Thomas Jr., 6 receptions, 86 yards, and a touchdown. The Jaguars showed fight, and I think they showed similar fight in their game against the Dolphins to begin the season. But they did exactly in that game as they did in this one yesterday, and that is show enough fight that they could compete, but in the end, falling short. So the Jaguars, they now go down to 0-4. The Texans, they stay in first place and they strengthen the hold on first at 3-1. More Sunday games at you. We're going to the afternoon slate with the 49ers hosting the Patriots in Santa Clara. 30-13 was the final score. The 49ers really did a number on the Patriots. Brock Purdy, okay. 15 of 27, 288 yards and a touchdown. He did have a pick. 5 carries for 11 more yards on the ground. Jordan Mason, who I think he has been a godsend for the 49ers offense, 24 carries, 123 yards and a touchdown, 2 carries and 32 receptions, 37 yards. They have needed that production from the running back position, seeing as though Christian McCaffrey has been out for a minute, and probably Christian McCaffrey has been held out a little longer than probably he would like, because Mason is doing such a great job. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is the third 100-yard rushing game in the four games he started. So the 49ers offense is on time, and they got back their weapons too, because there was a Deebo Samuel sighting, and there was somewhat of a Brandon Ayuk sighting. But Jawan Jennings still was the guy. 3 receptions, 88 yards. Oh, the 49ers offense, they got 148 yards on the ground. On defense, Malik Collins, he gave you a sack and a half and 2 quarterback hits. Kevin Givens, 2.5 sacks with 3 quarterback hits. And those 4 sacks was part of a 6-sack attack for the 49ers defense, and they recovered 2 fumbles along with it. Oh, and then you had Fred Warner with a 45-yard pick 6. Jake Moody, he also chipped in with 3 field goals on 3 attempts. Jacoby Brissett on the other side of things, 19-32, 168 yards and a touchdown, but he did throw a pick as well. He had 2 carries, 3 yards, and you got to be more careful with that ball. And the bright spot for the Patriots defense, Jabril Peppers, he had a pick of Brock Purdy. I was going to say Christian Purdy for a second there. The Patriots, they dropped to 1-3. The 49ers, they improved to 2-2, and hopefully things go better for both teams. Ooh, I got some things to talk about with the Browns, and not necessarily the Raiders, but the Browns. But the Browns, they went to Las Vegas. They played the Raiders. It was a nip and tuck game. Well, I should say nip and tuck. The Browns actually started off with a 10-0 lead, and then they just screwed the pooch. Final score was 20-16 Raiders. Gardner Minshew, or Uncle Rico, as one Mr. Drew Willingham would call him, 14-24, 130 yards. Not really all that impressive. 2 carries for -2 yards on the ground. But the Raiders offense, with many different running backs and many different running attacks, they chipped out and they grinded out 152 yards on the ground. Trevon Moehrig, he gave you a pick of Deshaun Watson, 24 of 32, 176 yards and a touchdown and an INT. He also gave you 8 carries for 32 yards on the ground. On the ground. Jerome Ford, 10 carries, 58 yards on the ground. He also gave you 7 receptions for 27 yards in the air. And Myles Garrett, he had a game. 2 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, and 2 quarterback hits. He was the man. Unfortunately, it just wasn't in the cards for the Browns. And he had some issues chemistry-wise. The Raiders, they improved to 2-2. The Browns, they fall to 1-3. All right. You have the Chargers. They hosted the back-to-back world champs. And the Chiefs, they played yet another ugly game. And another ugly game turned into an ugly win for the Chiefs, 17-10. What's the final score? Patrick Mahomes, pedestrian. 19-29, 245 yards, a touchdown. He did throw a pick. He also rushed for 12 yards with 5 carries. Kareem Hunt, a return of Kareem Hunt. He was pivotal in the game-winning drive. 14 carries, 69 yards. He had 2 receptions for 16 yards as well. A Travis Kelce sighting. 7 receptions, 89 yards for him. Chris Jones, 2 sacks. He shut the door. In fact, he had a sack that pretty much was the seal of the deal. 3 tackles for losses and 3 quarterback hits of Justin Herbert, who with his high ankle sprain gutted it out. 16-27, 179 yards and a touchdown. With 0 yards, he had 3 carries. And Bud Dupree on defense, he reflected the grit of the Chargers D. 2 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, and 2 quarterback hits. The Chargers, they fall to 2-2 after starting 2-0. They've taken it on the chin the last 2 games. The Chiefs, they improved to 4-0, and they have yet another close game that results in a close W. And then we go back to the Washington Commanders. I know my man Drew Willingham would want to talk about this. This is the best game that this team has played in a long time. 42-14. They went to the desert and they mollywopped the Cardinals. Jayden Daniels, beautiful performance except for the pick. 26 of 30 with a touchdown. 8 carries, 47 yards, and a rushing touchdown as well. Brian Robinson, he gave you 21 carries, 101 yards with a touchdown of his own. 3 receptions and 12 yards to the air. The Commanders' offense, the balance was unreal. Unreal. Oh, so 248 yards on the air for Daniels. 9 different receivers received passes from Daniels. 216 yards on the ground. And leading the charge in the air would be Olamide Zaccheaus with 6 receptions for 85 yards. On the defensive side of things, Dorrance Armstrong, he gave you a sack and a half with a tackle for loss and 2 quarterback hits. That sack and a half was buoyed by 4 sacks for the Commanders' defense of Kyler Murray, who was rather ineffective. 16-22, 142 yards for the touchdown. He had a carry for 3 yards. James Conner, wonderful performance, wasted. 18 carries, 104 yards on the touchdown. He had a reception for 9 yards. Budda Baker on defense, the dude was everywhere. 10 solo tackles for him. I think he was part of another 7 on the game. And Garrett Williams, he gave you that pick of Jayden Daniels. The Cardinals, they dropped to 1-3. The Commanders, they lead the NFC East at 3-1. Again, did you have that on your bingo cards? I don't think so. And the Bills as a whole taken Sunday Night Football. It was well orchestrated by the Ravens. They hosted the Bills. 35-10 was the final score. We knew it from the jump when Derrick Henry on the first carry brought it to the house with the longest ever rushing touchdown for the Ravens in franchise history. Lamar Jackson was actually rather mistake-free. He actually looked pretty good. 13 of 18, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have a lost fumble. 6 carries for 24 yards and a rushing touchdown. I circled the 6 carries. I love that number because it shows that you can have the route and you do not have to rely on Jackson running the ball all the time. Justice Hill, 4 carries, 18 yards. but he was bigger in the pass game. 6 receptions, 78 yards with a touchdown. On defense, Kyle Van Noy, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for losses, 3 quarterback hits. One of those sacks was a sack strip fumble of Josh Allen. 16 of 29, 180 yards. That strip sack fumble. 5 carries, 21 yards on the ground. But the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. It is Derrick Henry. 24 carries, 199 yards, and a touchdown. 3 receptions for 10 yards with a receiving touchdown. He set the tone and made all the difference. And the first the 2 touchdowns that Derrick Henry scored, which was the first 2 touchdowns of the game, was really all that the Ravens needed, because the defense shut the door and slammed the door shut on everything the Bills did. And the Ravens, offensively, they just were all about getting the Bills defense in open space. And if they weren't getting them in open space, they were just pounding them. Credit to the Ravens. They started out 0-2. Now they are 2-2. The Bills, they drop to 3-1. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the upset of the week. We go to the Meadowlands. The New York Jets, they did their thing Thursday night prior against the New England Patriots. They looked as though they were ready to go to the Super Bowl, and then they played that stinker of a game yesterday against the Broncos. 10-9 was the final score. 10-9. You had Bo Nix, who was 12 for 25 or 60 yards to the touchdown, 5 carries for 3 yards. You want to know how bad this game was? You want to know how this game was? Bo Nix, going to halftime, was -7. He was -7 yards passing. And the Jets still took it. Javonte Williams, 16 carries, 77 yards. He had 2 receptions for 3 yards. The Broncos defense, they treated Aaron Rodgers horrible. 5 sacks. 5 different guys took turns putting Aaron Rodgers, the 4-time MVP, to the turf. I won't go through my laundry list of why I dislike the guy. He's a good quarterback. Unfortunately, Father Time is starting to catch up with him. 24-42, 225 yards. He did not throw a pick. He did not turn the ball over, but he did not score a touchdown. He had 5 more carries for 26 yards on the ground. Greg Zuerlein, 3 of 4 on the field goal market. You want to know how bullish ugly this game was? Yes, I know it was rainy, but who gives a crap? 15 punts were committed in this game. 15. The Broncos had 8. The Jets had 7. Oh, and what made the game even worse, with under 5 minutes to go, Will Lutz and Greg Zuerlein decided to say, anything you can do, I can do better. They both missed 50-yard field goals within 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. They both missed dueling 50-yard field goals when it mattered the most to the team. Lutz's went wide left. Zuerlein's went wide right. Well, both teams are now knotted at 2-2. The Jets fall to 2-2. The Broncos, who started at 0-2, now they improve to 2-2. And they played an ugly game, but that's what you needed to do. They made the Jets play ugly, and the Jets just simply did not have what it took. All right, let's head to the game of the week, shall we? And that would be the rivalry that people don't focus on, but it is necessary to focus on it. The New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. They played at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the ATL. This was a mistake-prone game, not by the Falcons, but more so the Saints. 26-24 was the final score. The Falcons squeaked by the Saints. Kirk Cousins, 21-25, 238 yards and a pick. Tyler Algier gave you 8 carries with 60 yards, 2 receptions for 20 yards. Troy Anderson, he gave you 10 solo tackles on defense for the Falcons. He also gave you a 47-yard pick 6. Young Wei Koo, who probably would be the man of the hour, or at least the man of the game, 4 for 4 with the game winner from 58 yards. Derek Carr on the other side, 28 of 36, 229 yards. He did throw that pick 6, 3 carries for 5 yards on the ground. Alvin Kamara, who, he was okay. 19 carries, 77 yards with a rushing touchdown. 7 receptions for 42 yards in the air. Chris Olave, 8 receptions for 87 yards. Rashid Shaheed, 8 receptions, 83 yards. 2 carries, 14 yards, and a or a cough or a fumble. And not to be outdone, Paulson Adebo. He gave you 10 solo tackles and a pick. Now, the mistake-prone Saints, they went up 24-23 with about a minute to go with the Alvin Kamara. I think it was a 1-yard or 2-yard touchdown run, but a pass interference on the other side of things set up Koo's 58-yarder, which provided the difference in the score. The Falcons, they improved to 2-2. The Saints, they dropped to 2-2. And that is the game of the week. And that also concludes, I should say, the wrap-up of games in week 3 of the 2024 NFL season. We'll touch on the 2 games tonight later. We'll also touch on other things later as well. Stay tuned.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On 2. Ready? Break!
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Oh, yeah. Where am I? Oh, I can't do it as well as he does. Welcome back to Total Football Talk. I am Cole Johnson, pulling it solo for a minute. Hopefully, my brother Drew Willingham will join us momentarily. But who is my grand champ? You know, I'm going to have to give it to Jaden Daniels. I'm going to have to give it to him. Reason being, two performances, one on Monday night, both of them were W's. The offense against the Bengals scored 38, and against the Cardinals they scored 42. And Daniels combined for what, 500 yards to the air, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. I can take that. And I think I saw a stat where after the Cardinals game, he is the first quarterback in the history of the league to have a start to the NFL season, the 4-game start of the NFL season, with at least 40 attempts, where it was 80% completion rating. I mean, the kid's a stud. Now, can this continue? That is a horse of a different color, but Jaden Daniels is the guy, and I think I might I might upset the apple cart with Drew, but I just had to do it. 2 games where he was the difference maker, and that 27-yard touchdown pass on a 3rd and 7 on Monday night's game against the Bengals, where he threw it where Terry McLaurin could only receive it. Wonderfully done, and it was a blitz. He read it perfectly. Yeah, that young man, I think, is going to be on a trajectory that's going to be through this roof. If they can protect him better and they can get him adequate weapons, because they're not done building the weapons around him either. And if they could do that and shore up their defensive depth, I really love what I'm seeing with Jaden Daniels. So, yeah, I'm going to pick him. And of course, Dante says King Henry didn't look good the first 2 weeks. But, well, let me see. 200. Yeah, about 350 yards in the last 2 games on the ground. Yeah, I think he's found his rhythm too, and I agree with you. So you have Dante Hill's pick, which is King Henry, and I'm not faulting him for that because he did a bang-up job Sunday night. But I got to give it to Jaden Daniels. 2 wonderful performances where he has made very little in the mistake department. He has made great decisions, and he is my guy for this week. So hopefully Drew is not going to be upset with me when he finds out that's who I chose. But I had to choose him because he was just that good. Let's continue.
Total Football Talk.
Welcome to Featured Attractions, where we are breaking down the 3 marquee games that we feel will have your interest and capture your interest through the next week. And Sig Dickey with his customary good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good evening. Oh, no, good afternoon to you, Mr. Sig Dickey. Glad to see you all the way from Norway. As you see, this show is international. So the first game we're going to break down will be the Lions, who come into this game 2-1. They host the Seahawks, who are undefeated at 3-0. ABC will be carrying this game. We'll have a kickoff tonight at 8:15. All times are Eastern. So the question I have to ask for the Seahawks would be, We've seen the performance of the team as a whole. The defense seems to have awakened, and they seem to have actually gotten stronger, and they've gotten more disciplined as the weeks have gone on. So defensively, they seem to be solid, especially with the linebackers. Uh, Offensively, I don't think they're quite there yet because they have, I guess, a um, rotating situation with running backs. And so the question I have to ask would be, are we seeing an MVP level performance out of Geno Smith? Because he has actually put forth good performances, good, solid, continuous performances. I would say not yet, but I would say he's on the come up. And if he were to continue on this trajectory, we'll be hearing names that we did not think we would hear to vie for most valuable players. We actually might even hear Jayden Daniels' name mentioned as a most valuable player. Although, yes, I know he's a rookie. We still might be able to hear that. And it is not out of the realm of possibility. We did have Jim Brown, who was the last person who was a rookie that actually did win MVP. So it can be done, and it has been done. But think about this. For front runners, I'm talking about MVP front runners. Geno Smith for the Seahawks, Sam Darnold for the Vikings. Did anybody think that we would say that those two were two of the best performing quarterbacks coming into the end of week 4, I'm sorry, of the 2024 NFL season? No. So I say not yet, but if he keeps going, like if the Seahawks, they get to be 6, 7, 8-0. And the defense, they're performing okay. The running game is, and they're doing it because Geno Smith is actually powering this team. Yeah, he's going to become an MVP candidate. I'm not saying that that's what we're going to see, but I'm saying that's where we're headed. Now, on the other side of things, so all right, the Lions, they they were they were they seemed to be unsure of themselves against the Rams, but they won. They they seem to play around the competition of the Cardinals, and they won. It just makes me uneasy when I watch this team, and then when I saw them play the the Bucks, they just seemed all out of sorts, and they went away from what they normally do, which would be to establish the run, and they lost. So, and you all can answer these questions too. Why do you believe the Lions are playing so soft and uneven? I believe they're playing soft and uneven because I don't think they really fully understand what they need to be and who they need to be going forward. To me, their bread is buttered with the two-headed monster of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. You can have either one of them. Whoever has the hot hand going to fourth quarter, wear him out. You can have the two vacillate between carries first 3 quarters, and you can have each of them take turns being the bellwether cow in the fourth quarter on the ground. And you have Laporta, who is a tight end I'm talking about, who is a safety valve for Jared Goff. And you have Amon-Ra St. Brown because you need to have that guy where you can go to him, whether it's a third down, whether it is a bomb, whether it is an intermediate route. There's a trust that Goff has with St. Brown. And when he can't do that, that is problematic for him and an extension, the rest of the team, because they can't really rely on Aiden Hutchinson on the other side, putting the quarterback to the ground. Otherwise, you're going to have those types of performances from him to steady the excuse me, to steady the team. You got to have those types of performances from Aiden Hutchinson, like 5 sacks in a game, which he had in that L that they took at home to the Bucks, in order for the Lions to actually be something. You can't sustain that. No team can sustain that. So you need to have Goff play even, and you need to have him not throw the ball 50 times in a game, 30 at the most. I would even say 25 to 30. But rely on Montgomery and Gibbs to be that two-headed monster on the ground to give you the points that you need and to give you the yards that you need and to give you the balance that you desperately seek. And if they lead with the power, they lead with the physicality, which I believe they can. I like the Lions, and I like them in this game for that reason. Their running game seems to be a little more shored up than the Seahawks running game. And if the Seahawks running game was more shored up, I probably would pick them. But I see both teams going 3-1. So who do you pick? You can come along. You can in the chat tell me who you believe is going to win these games. So we have this Monday night game coming up tonight. The Lions hosting the Seahawks. I'm choosing the Lions. Let's go to the Thursday night game, shall we? You have the Bucks, who are 3-1, somewhat surprising teams, unsurprising the league. They're going up against the Falcons. They're traveling to the ATL. They're going up against the 2-2 Falcons. This will be on Prime Video. Kickoff is Thursday again, 8:15. Again, all times are Eastern. So let's go to the Bucks. We have seen Baker Mayfield. He's really been steady. I think he's been the most steady presence on the squad. And the question I have is, how important is it for Baker Mayfield to start strong in this game? I think it's very strong. And we got a chance to witness that yesterday. When he starts strong, the team seems to pick up the tempo, and they seem to have the confidence necessary to carry out whatever it is they need to do. They started off relatively fast against the Lions and won. They started out fast against the Commanders and boat raced them. They started out slow against the Broncos, and they didn't get out the gate. So to me, it is hugely important for Baker Mayfield to start strong, to not make a mistake, to get Mike Evans a couple of catches early, to establish Rashad White on the ground early. If he can spread the love and get the offense rolling early, then I really think they are a problem. But if you can corral that offense and corral Baker Mayfield in particular, your chances of beating the Bucks are not slim. They're much greater. Let's flip it to the other side, shall we? So you have the Falcons. They have been up and down like a roller coaster. Let me see. They took a L to the Steelers. They took an L last Sunday night to the Chiefs. They got a W in Philly. It should have been an L because they were behind late and they almost had no business coming back to win. But they took a W out of South Philly and another last-second win. They have a last-second field goal against their arch-rival Saints, which produced their first home win. So I've been seeing an up-and-down team, and I've been seeing an inconsistent offense that has not really helped a defense that actually is a little stronger, led by Matthew Judon. Can the Falcons offense get on track? I think they can, but you got to give me Bijan Robinson with a little bit of Tyler Algier and a little bit of Drake London and a little bit of Kyle Pratt. You got to include all of these targets. You got to include all of them. And it starts with Bijan Robinson. You got to make him be the reason why the success of the Falcons is important. And if you can have that be the reason why, then I think that offense will get on track. And I think then you won't have the slow starts, or you won't have the 3 and outs, and you will not have the communication issues that seemingly this Falcons offense seems to have, because they still are adjusting to a new quarterback in one Kirk Cousins. new to the team, not new to the league, obviously. But yes, they could get on track, but Bijan Robinson needs to be the man. That is imperative. That is a no-brainer. You need to have him be the man. Otherwise, you are wasting, and I do mean wasting, a wonderful, wonderful performer in Matthew Judon on the other side. Because that dude is good to give you a sack. He's good to either give you a sack or a fumble or a timely hit or a timely third down stop. This guy is extremely and highly intelligent, and he knows when to step up and play huge. You can't waste an effort from a guy like that if you're going to have an offense that's going to be stuck in mud. So I predict, and I hate to say it, I should predict the Buccaneers to win. And I only do that because I just don't see the Falcons being the solidified team they should be, and I think the Buccaneers will get out to a good start. The Buccaneers get out to a fast start. The Falcons allow teams to get out to good starts. And if that were not to be the case, I'd pick the Falcons. But I'm going against them, and I'm picking the Buccaneers. Again, who do you choose between the Buccaneers and the homebound Falcons on Thursday night? And then the last game that we will focus on will be this Sunday. I'm sorry, this coming Sunday. The 3-1 Bills, they travel to Houston to play the 3-1 Texans. CBS will carry that game on Sunday afternoon. 1 p.m. is the kickoff from NRG Stadium. Let's focus on the Bills for a second. So we saw an explosive offense for a half, maybe 2.5 quarters against the Cardinals. The first half against the Dolphins. The first 2.5 quarters against the Jaguars. And I think we saw the key as to how you can stymie that explosion. A lot of zone, have Allen take all things underneath, limit him running, and pressure. The question I have for the Bills is, can they sustain being an explosive offense with not that strong running game? Because you have James Cook, who he doesn't even give you. He can, but the way this offense is operating, they don't give you the 20 carries for 100 yards. It's more on the lines of 10 for maybe 40, 12 for 50. I mean, it pretty much is that. And it's like it's a running back by committee type of thing. And to me, that running game is not strong enough. So they rely, I think, too heavily on the short passing game to sort of supplement the running attack that either is whatever Josh Allen gets and the 2 or 3 yards that James Cook scampers with. I don't think that's good enough. I think you need more. You need more out of that offense with the running game to supplement that passing game. Now, on the other side with the Texans. So they come in, they beat the Colts, they beat the Bears, and then they get drubbed in the Twin Cities before they come back home and they beat the Jaguars with 18 seconds left after doing next to nothing offensively in the second half. I can't really say that it was execution only that made them do next to nothing offensively. To me, it is a sign of disciplinary problems. And we've had this conversation. You remember that someone was saying to me that, well, I think the Texans can be AFC Conference Championship material. And I said, no, not yet. This is why. So how can the Texans not commit so many penalties? The coaching staff has to get into that lab, and they have to tell the Texas offensive linemen, know the snap counts. Know the snap counts. You cannot have that many false starts. You cannot have that. You cannot have that many illegal procedures. You can't have these mental errors. And God, please tone down the holding. I know there was 3 plays that I saw yesterday where the Texans got a first down, but it got called back because of holding or an illegal procedure. That offensive line is undisciplined and it is infiltrating the rest of the team because there was a penalty on on a punt where there was a penalty on the sideline where it was unsportsmanlike conduct. That needs to be nipped in the bud. The coaching staff has to get with the team and especially offensive line, and they got to say you got to be more disciplined. Now you got away with this game with the Jaguars, 13 penalties, got away with that and got a dub. They won't do it here. They're too undisciplined. The Bills are too strong of a squad, and you got 3 squads to me in the AFC that are measuring sticks, and the Texans play all of them. The Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. Those are your 3 measuring sticks in the AFC. You want to see where you measure up in the conference. Those are the teams you got to play, and you got to measure yourself by them. And if you can get 2 of those 3, then you're in the mix. But if you get 1 of those 3, you're still not in the mix. And this is one of those 3 they won't. The Bills, I think they're going to be a little salty coming into Houston. They're going to want to prove a point. They want to say that basically what you saw Sunday night was a misnomer. It was an anomaly. What you have seen the 3 weeks prior, that is what we are. And I think the Bills defense will get back to flying all over the place, being the 11 men playing like one, having the secondary have the quarterback guess as to where they're going to play, the linebackers clean up, and the front 4 eat. I think the Bills going to get back to that, and I think the Texans will make too many mistakes to overcome it. They have the talent to beat the Bills. They don't have the mental acuity right now to do so. And if they can eliminate those mental errors, I pick them. I'm not doing so. The Bills have this game. And if the Bills don't have this game, then it means the Bills are the ones that were mentally out of shape and not the Texans. Well, those are my choices. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to have Jude pick his. Who is your choice in these games slated in the featured attractions? Let us know in the comments below or in the chat if you're watching this live.
Total Football Talk.
And now it's time for the Snowflake of the Week. Sponsored by nobody. And my choice for Snowflake of the Week, this one is an absolute no-brainer. It's a slam dunker. Deshaun Watson. But where should I begin? Should I begin when in the Wednesday press conference you had the nerve to opine when it was leaked out to the press that you were going to have more running plays designed for you that, quote, I'm not a running quarterback, close quote. Excuse me, sir. When you were in Clemson, you scrambled often. When you were with the Texans, you scrambled often. Why is it that you're too good to scramble now with the Browns? You've played this game long enough. You know that if your offensive line isn't picking up the block assignments that they should, and you have the mental wherewithal and the legs to get out of situations, then you can run with the ball. What's the matter with you running 3 or 4 called runs in a game? There isn't any. But you have this issue of you're just too big. Okay, well, fine. So then explain to me yesterday where you felt the need to just chew out the offensive line in the middle of the field, man. You're the guy that the other 10, at least on the offense, and theoretically the other 52 on the whole team look to for leadership, but they see in you a rudderless ship. And because of that, issues would abound, issues should abound, and issues will abound further. And fissures will be had. It's to the point now where we know the reasonable person in the room is one. I can't believe I'm about to say this. Jameis Winston. He is the sound mind in the room, not you. And that is problematic. Not because of Jameis, but because of you. And it looks like now you've been so concerned with you've been so concerned with this that I don't think you're even thinking straight. Oh, yeah, girl. Oh, those big uglies. They don't know how to play this game. They don't know that they have to protect this $230 million man. Hit me with the towel, girl. Towel, girl. Towel. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to watch me do my thing, girl. The hands stay to your side. Yeah, you're going to watch me do my thing. Them oafs on the offensive line, they're going to watch me do my thing. That nincompoop of a head coach and Kevin Stefanski, he's going to know what I do best. And that stroke, you're so busy trying to find masseuses in the Northeastern Ohio area to see you get off than to have your team be strong enough to compete for an AFC North title. And I'm sure you probably studied up on history, at least with the Browns. Do you know the last assured quarterback they've had, the one where they went year to year with, and they knew that they could rely on this person because he was able to at least win divisional crowns and get them far in the playoffs? You weren't even born yet, man. That's how long it's been. We're talking 35 years. Yeah. Bernie Kosar, number 19. I know you've heard about him. I know Northeastern Ohio said, yeah, man, we want you to be like him. And you're not. And that's problematic, son. And what's even more problematic is you are warring with your team. How can they gather faith in you if you want to be combative? That needs to be nipped in the bud. And if you're not going to nip it in the bud, then that team is going to nip in the bud for you. And I don't think you're going to like how they're going to do it. Because they may go so far as to snatch that guarantee money out of your hands. And you ain't going to like that, my friend. So you better straighten up. You better understand that whatever they want you to do, you better answer how high, how long, and how well. Because the margin of error for you is almost zero. Know that. Be at home with that. 2-minute drill is next.
Later, the post game. But coming up next, the 2-minute drill. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated. Creating content magic in the real world.
In a world where chronicles of the past are brought to the streams. Whether the content is relatable or completely beyond your realm of life, there is no shadow of a doubt that this show is absolutely full of shenanigans. Get ready for
D. Willie in the evening,
this Sunday at 10:05 p.m. Eastern.
exclusively on Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign D Willie 87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. Slide some Willie Bucks.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. If you want your Commanders to be repped right, well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report, every Tuesday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern, 12:05 a.m. Central, on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers, right side, commanders. Where my soldiers, left side,
We are in the 2-minute drill portion of the program. Welcome back to Total Football Talk. I'm Cole Johnson. Hopefully, I'll be joined momentarily by D. Willie, the man with all the shenanigans. But before we do, though, let's hit the tribe, shall we? And Sig Dicky says at Comey Media, he needs a late night R&B radio show with not one or two or three, but 4 crying, laughing on the floor emojis. And he also says, the comedic antics of Cole Johnson are brought to you by Sleazy Salons. Happy endings guaranteed. And Wild Jade Nail Salons. No mani-pedis, just hands and feet. Well done. And then Victor. It is good to see you, my man. He says, good morning, or in the East Coast, good afternoon. How's everyone doing, the TFT tribe? Shout out to the EP of all EPs, Cole Johnson. Thank you. And shout out to the epic man of the Snowman in the Morning program, Victor Locke, a.k.a. VLOCK-A3, a.k.a.
Vicola.
Sick asks, can it be said that the Deshaun Watson experiment is a disaster in Cleveland? Disaster is putting it mildly. It's an unmitigated failure. But I'll say this, though. The Texans are loving life because they got rid of that headache, and now they have nothing but wonderful draft picks as a result. Starting with C.J. Stroud, continuing with Will Anderson. Yeah, I mean, they made out that mighty fine. Now we're in the midst of the 2-minute drill. It is great that you're here. Cole Johnson here, representing Drew Willingham as well. And for the next week, we have these 4 teams on a bye. Yes, we're getting bye time of the year now. And since we're in week 5, the Detroit Lions, the Tennessee Titans, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Los Angeles Chargers are on byes. Yes, the Lions, the Titans, the Eagles, and the Chargers are on byes next week, or this coming week that we're about to unveil the games. So there's 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. We mentioned one, which would be the Seahawks, and the Lions. The other one is the Titans at 0-3. They're visiting the Miami Dolphins at 1-2. ESPN will have that kick at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, again, all times Eastern. And Will Levis is too much of a turnover machine. I mean, this dude just keeps turning the ball over at will. And because of that, that's just one glaring mistake that I think you just cannot recover from. And I don't care what the Miami Dolphins trot out. They could trot out Skylar Thompson again. They could trot out whoever they could even trot out a concussed Tua Tagovailoa. I don't want them to, but Will Levis is so bad they could trot dude out, and the Dolphins can still win this game. So yes, I paid the Dolphins easily over the Titans. That's the other Monday Night Football game for tonight, and it's not going to be pretty. Again, kickoff is at 7:30 Eastern. Oh my gosh, I feel for those who watch this game.
Hey! Who's giving them the business?
All right, now to Sunday. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are now in the throes of the London affairs. The Jets at 2-2, they travel to play a road game against the home team, the Minnesota Vikings, who are now 4-0, and I'm sure they're probably saying, why did we agree to have this game being played in London? Not to say that London's bad, but I think they would want to have this game played in the Twin Cities since they're going so strong at 4-0. Kickoff is at 9:30 a.m. Drew's going to laugh at me because I actually on the slate had typed 9:30 p.m. But yeah, the kickoff is at 9:30 a.m. NFL Network has the coverage. And the Jets are going to look just as bad because the Vikings defense is as strong as the Broncos are. They're going to look just as bad as they did yesterday against the Broncos. So I think the Vikings will batter Aaron Rodgers around, although, yes, I know Aaron Rodgers knows the Vikings very well because he played with the Packers. I don't think that matters. I think the Vikings will win. I think they go to 5-0. I think they have enough going on both sides of the ball where they will give the Jets problems. And all the Vikings have to do is slow down Breece Hall. And they've been pretty good slowing down running games. So if that's the case, if they slow down Breece Hall, it should be an easy game for the Vikings to win. And I think they will. All right, Sunday 1 p.m. games. Let's start with the Bengals. They are 1-3. They host the Ravens at 2-2. CBS will carry this game. 1 p.m. is the kick. And the only way the Ravens will lose this game is if Derrick Henry does not board the plane to fly to Cincinnati. If he does not touch down in Northern Kentucky, then there's a problem. If he touches down in Northern Kentucky and makes that drive 10 miles north and across the Ohio River, the Bengals will get their butts whooped because the Bengals can't handle what the Ravens can do on offense. They'll spread that defense out and they'll pound them. I have the Ravens easily over the Bengals. I don't know if it's going to be double digits, but it will be, I won't say an easy affair, but it will be a fair that the Bengals, they will be fighting uphill most of the game, and I think they won't be able to handle battling, fighting, and struggling uphill.
Hey! Who's giving them the business?
All right, Fox has this 1 p.m. kick. The Bears at 2-2. They host the Panthers at 1-3. The Bears have this game. Should we even go further? You still have 5 300-pound turnstiles that's in front of the red cannon instead of Bryce Young and Andy Dalton. You have Caleb Williams, who all he has to do is not turn the ball over. And Matt Eberflus needs to understand you need to run the ball. Since you're a defensive guru, I would think that you would embrace wanting to run the ball. They do that, the Bears will be back above 500 for the first time since week 1.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Got a question. Well, got something from Sick. Say, look, one thing you can't count on in London is the weather. I'd ponder an NFL game in Scandinavia, but that would be a wishful thinking at best. Maybe not in October. If they played later, like in November, I think that would be brutal. He says, one question for the Ravens. Can Lamar Jackson refrain from running unless absolutely necessary? Man, at my own heart, Sick. I've been wanting to ask that question, and now they have the ability to where they can do that. And sometimes Jackson still has that itch to want to run. But I digress. 1 p.m. kick. The Patriots are 1-3. They host the Dolphins currently at 1-2. I believe they'll be 2-2 when this game starts. 1 p.m. I think the Dolphins are wounded enough to where I think the Patriots can get them. I don't think they do anything all that elaborate, but the one thing they do have the ability to do is run the ball. And I think if you can reduce the Dolphins into a physical matchup, I like the chances better. So I'm going to pick the Patriots over the Dolphins because I think they'll be able to beat down the Dolphins a little more effectively because the Dolphins want to have a fast break effect with the game, and the Patriots want to purposely slow it down. So I give it to the Patriots.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Another 1 p.m. kick. Fox will carry this as well. The Commanders on top of the NFC East at 3-1. They host a 1-3 bickering Browns. This is too easy. You got Deshaun Watson, who is making things tougher and tougher by the day on the Browns. And on the other side, you have Jayden Daniels, who I think people cannot extol the virtues enough of. He is literally I do mean literally a breath of fresh air for the Commanders. This is going to make my man D. Willie happy. I have your Commanders winning. They're going to be 4-1 going into Sunday afternoon, my man. Sunday late afternoon. So, yeah, the Commanders will be 4-1. The Browns are going to bicker some more and be 1-4.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right, another 1 p.m. kick, another one on Fox. The Jaguars 0-4. They're home, licking their wounds. They host divisional rival Indianapolis Colts. And here's the funny thing. If there's a team that the Jaguars would love to see more than any of the other 31, and any of the 31 teams to see, it's the Colts. Because for whatever reason, the Jaguars seem to have the Colts number. I don't know what it is. Even when they played in Indy, the Jaguars seem to have the Colts number. Now, the Colts seem to have a little more success in Indy against them, but for some reason, they have the Jaguars number, especially when they play in Duval. This game's in Duval, and unfortunately, I don't see anything different, except if Joe Flacco starts. Because I think if Joe Flacco starts, for some reason, that offense will be settled in a way that I think Anthony Richardson does not settle that offense. He's still young. He's still learning. Yes, I know he's in his second year, but you might as well consider him a rookie because he's only started, 2 games before this year, and now he has started 3 before he had to leave yesterday's game. I say Jaguars here because I think they need to get out the schneid, and I think they'll be motivated to win, and I think this is the right opponent to get them motivated enough to pull the W against. They seem to have a lot of success against the Colts in Duval, and I think that will not stop this coming Sunday.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right, let's go to more Sunday games. Before we do, Six says it's been an itch that he needs to scratch in recent years. Cole. Even if he trusts Derrick Henry completely, talking about Lamar Jackson, he can't but want to scramble, especially in red zone situations. Yeah. I think that is the problem for him. I think he needs to actually let go of that tendency because as great as an athlete as he is, he needs to understand that his best availability is to stay in the pocket and learn how to beat teams from there and to scramble only when necessary. I'm sorry. Again. Now to the 4:05 slate of Sunday games. The Broncos at 2-2. They meet up with the Raiders, who are also 2-2. This game will be in Denver, contested there. It'll be televised on Fox. That's 2:05 in the Mountain Time Zone. You have two teams where the QBs play uneven. The defense seems to be the stronger suit of the teams. And offensively, they seem to be up and down like a roller coaster. So to me, it depends on which team can solidify itself more. And if Devontae Adams and Max Crosby actually do play, then my money is on the Raiders. But if they don't play like they didn't yesterday, my money's on the Broncos. But I think Crosby and Adams will play. So I say the Raiders will take it on the road in Denver. So sorry. Wrong sound effect.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
All right, the other 4:05 kick is between the 49ers and Santa Clara. They will host the Cardinals at 1-3. The 49ers are 2-2. This is too easy. Jordan Mason, too much of him all the time with a little smattering of Kittle, Ayuk, Samuel, and Jennings will make this a cakewalk for the 49ers.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now for the 4:25 games on Sunday. You have the reeling Rams, 1-3, but even though they are hosting the Packers at 2-2, the bright spot is the lone home game that the Rams have played, they won. All three of the games they've lost have been on the road. Again, CBS will carry this game. 4:25 is the kick, opening kickoff. And with the Packers is which offense is going to show up? Is it going to be the one that just loves to run the ball like they did with Malik Willis under center? Or is it going to be the one where they just love to pass all over the place like when Jordan Love is under center? If they could find a balance in between, I would like the Packers a little better. What I also don't like about the Packers is that their rush defense is not all the greatest shakes either. And so since they can't decide if they want to run the ball and they have problems stopping the run, I actually will pick the Rams in this because I think if Wunderkind or Sean McVay actually commits to having Kyron Williams run the ball, I would like the chances more. And so since I think that ingredient I trust a little more than the chaotic look of the Packers offense, I'm going to go with and the chaotic understanding of how the Packers can stop a running offense. I'm going with the Rams on this one. So yes, I say the Rams over the Packers.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
The other 4:25 kick. This also is on CBS. The Seahawks, right now, they are 3-0. I have them 3-1, but that might change. They host the Giants at 1-3.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Sorry, Wise. You know I got the Seahawks in this one. So do you. Sunday night, the Steelers They are 3-1. They host the 2-2 Dallas Cowboys. Of course, everybody's going to go all nostalgic with, oh no, oh yes, Super Bowl 10 and Super Bowl 13 and Super Bowl 30 and Super Bowl who cares? Who cares if we see this?
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
Who cares if we see this? Who cares about this?
You guys want to hear a fucking story?
Here's the story you need to hear. All that crap is in the past. We're in 2024, and neither team is of the glorious days of even the 90s, let alone the 70s. All right, so proper perspective given. The Steelers, they're coming off of a loss against the Colts yesterday, 27-24, where they really weren't in the game. They were playing uphill all the way around, and the defense actually let them down. And that to me was a surprising spot for me. The defense seemed to be subpar, which that is rare for me to see for the Steelers. The Cowboys, they're coming off of a W in the Meadowlands, and the fact that they won 20-15 against the Giants this year versus 40-0 last year in the Meadowlands, it gives me pause because it makes me think that the Giants probably have caught up to the Cowboys more than the Cowboys having an off year or off moment. This one to me is easy. The Cowboys do one thing poorly that they need to do well, and that's run the ball. They do it poorly. You have a team in the Steelers who can rush the quarterback with rushing only 3. They don't even have to rush 4. They can rush 3 and get to the quarterback. So you have a defense that can rush the QB. You have an offense that cannot run against an offense who cannot run, who they'll be glad to have Dak Prescott throw the ball 50 times in the game. That's a prescription for the Steelers to do a butt whooping on the Cowboys. Am I rooting for it? No, because I could care less. Am I hating on it? No, because again, I could care less. It'll be a great game to watch, but I think the Steelers will easily have their way with the Cowboys. And that is Sunday night. And that, my friends, concludes the matters of the 2-minute drill. Stay tuned. If I can find buttons. Finding buttons. Survey said. That felt good.
Total Football Talk.
As long as it's one. It's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
6 says, regarding the Steelers and Cowboys, can anybody say hit the snooze button? Unless this game could be both entertaining and bowling shoe ugly at the same time. It might be. It just might be. Welcome to the post game, where we normally at this time give our thoughts at the week that was, and probably even give some thoughts at the week that's to come as well. And my closing thoughts are as follows. We are close to the unofficial quarter mark of the NFL season, and So far, I'm liking what I'm seeing from the standpoint of we are having surprises. Look no further than in the NFC. Did we think that we was going to see the Eagles struggle at 2-2? Did we think that we were going to see the Saints get off to the roaring start that they did and score 93 points in the first two games and not even score half that total in the next two? Did we even imagine that we were going to see a 3-1 Commanders team? And did anybody on their bingo card have the Vikings at 4-0? Anybody? I'll answer that question for you. Nobody had that on their bingo card. Nobody. Yeah, including Bishop. You didn't have that on your bingo card, did you?
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
Nobody thought in the NFC we were going to see the top teams be the Commanders. It sounds strange to even say it. The Seahawks and the Vikings. Yeah. Yeah. They combined what, 10-1 record-wise? Oh, I mean, we did not think we was going to see that. But yet here we are. The Commanders are top of the NFC East. The Vikings are top of the NFC North. The Seahawks on top of the NFC West. And a mild surprise, you can say the Buccaneers on top of the NFC South. But conspicuous in their absence, the Lions, who struggled a little, and the 49ers, who have struggled even more so. They're in that mix, along with the Eagles, who are also, they're 2-2. The 49ers are 2-2. The Lions are 2-1. They could be 3-1 at the end of tonight, and I have them pegged to be 3-1 at the end of the night. But they could very easily lose tonight, and they also could be 2-2. And where you'll have the two teams that people said, or the three teams that people said was going to be more than likely the ones that was going to be in the NFC Championship game, they're looking up at three teams who everybody figured either was going to take a step down in the Seahawks, they was going to take a year off in the Vikings, or they had at least a couple of more years, but they're on their way up in the Commanders. Now, am I saying that we're going to see the Seahawks, Commanders, and the Vikings in January? No, I'm not saying that now. And no, when I say January, I'm not talking about the end of the regular season. I'm talking about Martin Luther King weekend and later. I'm not saying that all three of those teams are playoff bound as of now. What I'm saying is this is what makes football so great. You can't predict it. Like, did we think that the Raiders were going to beat the Ravens in Baltimore? No, but that's what happened. Did we think that we were going to see the Broncos beat the Jets with the QB that threw for -7.5 yards and only 60 yards in the game? No, but it happened. Did we think that we were going to see did we think we were going to see the Chiefs win one one-score game after another one-score game after another one-score game after another one-score game? Yeah, we did. We did, because they're the master of the ugly win right now. They do whatever's necessary and just that to get the W's now. And I think they'll find a way to get W's in a much more dominating fashion. But I think this is what we'd like to see. And this is what the NFL wanted. Not necessarily parity, but They want to have something that keeps you guessing. Because in the AFC, we're not really kept guessing because look at the teams that's on top. You got the Bills, AFC East leader. You got the Chiefs, the AFC West leader. The mild surprise would probably be the Steelers, the AFC North leader. And you have the Texans, who are the AFC South leader, who many erroneously have said that they could be an AFC championship contender. I don't see that yet with them. Because I don't think they're with the big boys yet. And to me, the big boys are the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs in the AFC. The Texans will play all three. We'll see what happens. But the beauty of this has been what I have seen in the NFC. The mighty Eagles, the mighty Lions, the up-and-coming mighty Lions, and the mighty 49ers. The three teams that everyone has chosen, including me, to represent the NFC come late January. They're going to have to struggle and look up to the Vikings, the Commanders, and the Seahawks. Wow. Did not see that coming. Oh, and the Packers also, 2-2. They're also looking up. But the beauty of this is you cannot predict how this game is going to be. All you could do is just celebrate it, be washed in it, be on the glow in it, and be the fan that you're supposed to be like I am, and just hope that the action is better. I got to give credit to where it's due. The brand of football that we've seen actually has been pretty good. And I hope it continues to be pretty good. And if it does, then I think we're going to be blessed for a really good season. 1 quarter down, 3 quarters to go. And we start the buys and we start the London and Frankfurt trips. Which dates us from October all the way to about maybe the week before Thanksgiving. And then we start to see the contenders emerge and the pretenders fade. But right now, it's great to dream, isn't it? It's great to watch how things are unfolding. And I hope that we get a chance to watch more wonderful things unfold as the season rolls along. So to the NFL, to the Shield, you've done a good job with what the product has been looking on the field as of late. Hopefully that can continue.
As long as it's one. Oh, it's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is all that is on tap for Total Football Talk. For Drew Willingham, I'm Cole Johnson. I'm so glad that you joined us in the tribe. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for hitting the notification bell so you can catch everything, not just Total Football Talk, but everything that comes from the Surtoba Media, that is SIRTOBA, Surtoba Media, and the Comey Media YouTube channels. Oh, and to reach my man Drew, all you have to do is to go on the many social media platforms that he has in store for you. Yeah, that's right. Many. Like, let me see. Surtoba_media on Instagram, Surtoba_media on X, the _Surtoba on TikTok, and of course, the Surtoba Media YouTube channel. And where you can reach me, other than Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channel, you can go on to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. That's flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. Well, again, that's all the time I have. Thank you so much for joining yours truly. For Drew Willingham, I am Cole Johnson, here to say in parting, as I always do. And I will do this on behalf of my brother. In life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And always remember, you got to play until the whistle blows. And as my brother will say, and stay safe out here on these streets. For Drew Willingham, I'm Cole Johnson, here to say so long. Towel, girl, towel.